Ladies and gents, Chapter 9, Lesson 10, Percent of Increase and Decrease. Firstly, pause. If you have an assignment from page 257, pause, check your answers. Come on back when you're ready. So folks, going for today, our objective is to find a percent of change. Now this is interesting. Have we ever done that before? Think about where we've been so you know where we're going. 34% of 90 is some part. However, in this case, we don't know what that percent is, and that's what we're going to find. Now, of course, naturally, you're going to need to know what the other two numbers are. And by the way, of course, we use percentages all the time when analyzing statistics and using those to make predictions. So this will come up quite a bit in future years. No matter what the date, no matter what the assignment number, pause, title your paper, get ready for some notes, and come on back when you're ready. All right, if there's one thing to learn, think about where we have been. We've been talking about relationships. Is there a relationship between two quantities? And if so, how can we describe it? Now, percent is a relationship where we have a number compared with 100. The new part for today is comparing the amount of increase or decrease to the original. Now, please write that in your notes. I would, since I'm a visual person, draw arrows up or down compared to original. Or if you're a verbal person, perhaps you want to rewrite it as change versus original. So we've already done percent versus 100. That's an ugly percent sign. We've already done the part versus the whole. So we're just continuing to explore relationships. This time, how much it increases or decreases versus the original amount. All right, got a few basketball examples. I'm not sure this really was last year, but look, Victor Oladipo, once a standout at IU, scored an average of 15 and 9/10 points per game. Then the following year, he averaged 24 points per game. What is the percent of increase in points per game? Now, some of you are visual people, others of you kinesthetic. You're going to take your arms right now. You're going to retell the problem without using numbers, right? So what we know is he scored a bunch of points, and then it increased. And the question is, what is that percentage of increase? Now I go back, I'm going to use my close reading skills. And speaking of, what is that percent of increase? So when I set this up, the very first thing I'm going to do is write the 100 in its place. But immediately I think, okay, you can use P for percent, you can use I for increase, but the question is, what is the percent? So the variable goes on top of the 100. Now don't forget, we are comparing the increase or decrease, the change, versus the original amount. So it started at 15 and 9/10. It ended at 24 and 0/10, and therefore it increased, I do believe that's 8 and 1/10. So which of those numbers do we use? We have three numbers, right? Well, the first thing, and sometimes I even write this right away before I even draw myself a picture, I put that original number in place. 15 and 9/10 points per game. The next year, he averaged 24 points per game. But that 24, it's almost irrelevant. The only thing we need that 24 is to find how much it has changed. So if we are comparing the change versus the original, we're going to compare 8 and 1/10 versus 15 and 9/10. Folks, that is the most important part, being able to set up that relationship. Now, for those of you coming up with an estimate, I noticed that 8 compared to 16 is about a half. So I'm guessing it's somewhere close to 50%. Let's find out. So I used I guess I could use P, my apologies. First things first, I'm going to rewrite this. 15 and 9/10 times some number P is equal to the product of 8 and 1/10 times 100. Now, I don't know what 15 and 9/10 times P is because P is unknown. I do know that anytime you multiply by a power of 10, you count the zeros and you move the decimal point. And in this case, we're going to make it larger. So that's going to be 810. But Mr. Callan, we only want P. So let's go ahead and divide both sides by 15 9/10 to keep a fair and balanced equation, excuse me. And if you would be so kind to trust me on this, trust my division, you could go off to the side, but you can trust me. It's going to be 50. I believe it ended up being 50.94, and it kept going. And I said, okay, so is that closest to 50 and 9/10, or is it closer to 51 and 0/10? And as you can see, it's only 4 steps away here. It'd be about 6 steps away. 59/10. Now hold on. Two things that are extremely important. Number one, the question says, what is the percent? So don't write 50 and 9/10, pretend that's points or something like that. The second thing is to write whether it is an increase or decrease. Now, you may write the whole word for you for you verbal people out there. Or I am perfectly okay if you simply write 50 and 9/10 I, and the I will stand for increase. So pause if you need, go back, rewind, rewatch if you need. Otherwise, we will continue on with some more basketball statistics. IU men's basketball team won 20 games during the 14-15 season. The following year, they won 27 games. What was their percent of increase? So again, what I'm seeing is they started with some wins. They actually had some more wins, and we want to know what is the percent that it goes up. So if I were to set up the following proportion, putting my 100 in place, using my close reading skills, I go back and box in the question, and again it says percent of increase. This time I'll actually use I, just to remind myself that I need to put I at the end. Now the first year they won 20. Oh, you know what? Before I do anything, maybe I write that original number in. It's always compared to the original when we were finding a percent of change. Second time around, they won 27, but that 27 is irrelevant. What we care about is if the increase of 7 games, what is that percent compared to 20? All right, I would argue that's the toughest part of the problem, setting up some percentage I compared to 100, and the change of an increase of 7 games. By the way, no need to write a plus or a minus. We'll just write I for increase or D for decrease at the end. 7 compares to the original of 20 games. At this point, I think I can trust you guys, so I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. We'll multiply 20. No, Mr. Callan, we don't need cross products. After all, 20 multiplies quite nicely, a scale factor of 5 to get to 100, and 7 multiplied by 5. We're going to write 35. We're going to write percent, and then we're going to write I to indicate that it is an increase. I think I had the same answer there. Yep. Onward we go. Pause if you need, read through it, draw a picture if you want, see if you can set up the proportion, and come on back when you're ready for it to be talked through. All right, question is asking once again, what is the percent of, this case is going to be decrease. So you know what, I'm going to stick to my color coding so you can look back if you need to rewatch something. I've been using red for the question. You can use P for percent if you want. I'm going to use D for decrease. Then what do we got? $40 basketball, sale for $30. Now imagine that picture. Started at 40, but now it goes down, ends at 30. We want to know what that percent is, and it goes down 5. So ladies and gents, no need to write a negative 5, just write 5 compared with the, there's a big thing. Do not take the smallest number and always call that the denominator. No, sir, no, ma'am. We're always comparing the change, how much it increases or decreases. That should have been a C, not a circle. Oh, it did it again. How about that? How about we do cursive? It's been a long time since I've done cursive. Versus the original. Yeah, sure, why not? All right, let's go ahead and solve that together. Does 40 go evenly in 100? No, although some of you might know something that could be multiplied by that. Meanwhile, the rest of us, 40 times some number D, 5 times 100. We would like to know what D is, not what 40 Ds are. So let's divide both sides by 40. And in this case, it does end up being quite nicely. Where's my answer? I'll just write it this way. 12.5%. And since it was a decrease, let's make sure to write the D next to it. Or you could just write the word decrease. Last one. Pause, read, set up, come on back when you're ready. Question. Percent of decrease. I'm going to use P this time just because why not? Where did he start? 28 points per game. What happened to his points per game? What happened to his stats? Actually, they went down. I think this was his second to last season where he scored 12. The question is saying, what is the percent of that decrease? And ladies and gents, it did go down 16. Now, I keep forgetting to estimate. Mr. Callan. Notice that 16 compared to 28, it's a little more than a half. So my estimation, I don't know, maybe 55%. Let's find out on the next time. Go ahead and use your cross products. 28 times D, 16 times 100. Divide by 28, and that's awfully close. Don't forget to write that percentage symbol. Don't forget to write that D for decrease. So once again, folks, over and over and over again, we've been talking about relationships. We've compared parts to wholes. We've compared percents to 100. And now we have comparing the increase or decrease, which some of you will just shorten to write how much it changes, compared to the original, or maybe you want to write start, or maybe you want to write first number. Whatever notes help you. All right, once again, whatever the date, whatever the assignment, go ahead into page 259. Let me know if you have any questions when I see you again. Take care, do well. Let's grow, folks.